Hey, I'm Soman.
And I'm JoAnn.
And welcome back to EverNever TV, part 2 of our big Q&A on what it's like to be a professional writer and artist. So we're going to continue with some of your questions now.
How do you write the perfect first sentence to hook the reader?
It's such a good question. It's a thing that I obsessed most over anything in the entire world other than will I ever get married. With School for Good and Evil, the way I came to that first sentence, Sophie had waited her whole life to be kidnapped. I wrote an entire chapter, and that was the last line of the chapter. And I suddenly realized, like, oh, that's such a good sentence. So I deleted the entire other 8 pages that came before and started there. Sometimes you have to write for a while to find your first sentence.
Well, I feel like in general, first sentences that deal with death are pretty solid. Like you say, oh, this is how I died.
Or, I almost died yesterday. Like, immediately you're going to keep reading, right? Because it's high stakes. That or love.
Yeah.
I got dumped yesterday. Or, you know, today is my wedding. Like, anything to get you propelling forward.
How long does it take you to plan out a story in full? What are your tips for planning and outlining?
I hate planning and outlining, but I do it because you have to do it. I mean, for a series, I usually take anywhere from 5 months to a year. School for Good and Evil took a year. Then I write a really extensive outline. So I wrote like basically a 40 or 50 page outline for the first book. And then I started writing. But once you start writing, let me tell you, that outline goes out the window. Nothing matches, characters switch places, you get rid of characters, but you have to do that outline because it makes you think about all these different angles and themes and ideas. Outlining is a way to explore the world, but definitely you're not going to use that as your Bible, because if you do, you're going to miss all the great opportunities. And also the fun of writing. The fun of writing is also discovery.
When you write a story for the first time, you're telling it to yourself the first time as well. So that's what makes it different from outlining. And so you really need to be able to give yourself the freedom to change your plan.
Absolutely.
Things happen.
The best scenes in the first book of the School for Good and Evil, the wish fish and things like that, were not in the outline.
How do you develop characters? Do you use any sort of character map? Are any of them based on real people?
Yeah, characters are based on real people all the time, but bits and pieces of them. And when you're developing characters, you have to hear their voice.
Yeah.
You know, you really have to like feel them in your gut, because otherwise they're all going to sound the same. Especially in writing School for Good and Evil, I needed Sophie, Agatha, and Tedros to sound very different from each other. And that comes from just sort of knowing their voices. So I think you really have to have that deep sense of who each of these people are, 100%.
What do you do about writer's block? And do you ever have the opposite problem where you have too many ideas?
Oh, all the time. All you can do is just show up to work every day and just keep working on it. And with writer's block, my most helpful advice for that is usually if you're blocked on a story, you're coming at it from the wrong direction. Like you're actually literally doing the entirely wrong thing. So the best thing to do is flip it. Say you have a character who wants to marry his girlfriend. If you have writer's block over that, it's probably because he wants to dump his girlfriend. And you think he wants to marry her, but he probably wants to dump her. So do the opposite. And only by doing the opposite will you figure it out. Like,
a lot of people want to know. What inspires your writing?
Writing is sort of spilling your essential core onto the page. So everything inspires it. I mean, and anything I read, anything I look at, you know, just sort of living gives me all these little pieces. But I think that inspires me to sit down and actually write every day is I like crafting every sentence to get a reaction. I don't have any filler sentences in any of my books. Like every sentence has a purpose. Even if the sentence is like I need them to open a car door or like walk through the woods, how do I make that funny or like exciting or like romantic and all that stuff. So it's trying to get emotions out of you. Thanks for tuning in to part 2 of our epic fan Q&A, and thanks for sending in all your questions. Next week we're going to have a special episode to celebrate the new year, and then we're going to be back with our final episode in our 5-part series. So definitely tune in next week and the week after that. And thanks for subscribing to EverNever TV, and we'll see you guys all soon. Bye.
Bye.
Happy New Year.